Everyone's looking great. My God. Happy Valentine's Day. We got a beautiful mosaic of so many different students from across the country, or I should say from across the state of California, who've come up to Sacramento to learn about the civic process, how government works, and more specifically, to lobby for some money for college, right? Yeah! So, I want to thank the students for joining me here today. I'm hoping that all of you have much more exciting plans later tonight, and the folks out here today. I want to get into the spirit of offering a Valentine to all the college students of California and also to the high school students who are college bound. I am proud to be joined by several student groups, including the Student Senate for the California Community Colleges, the California State Student Association, the University of California Student Association, and college-bound high school students from the YMCA Youth and Government High School program. Today, I'm introducing legislation which will increase Cal Grant B Access award amounts for California's low-income students. College graduates are a critical part of the engine that drives California's economy. They are the future innovators, the future educators, the future engineers, lawyers, scientists, doctors, architects, politicians, as well as executives. And that's what makes California be the 8th largest economy in the entire world. The taxpayers of California make a tremendous investment in its college graduates. There's not a single public college or university student, whether they're on direct financial aid or not, who doesn't have their education, at least partially, underwritten by the taxpayers of California. We must make sure that we're getting maximum benefit from that investment. But to be quite frank with each and every one of us here today, that is not always the case. When the Cal Grant B Access program was awarded, or I should say first established in 1969, the amount granted per student for that year was $960. Now, the Cal Grant B Access Award program was established back in 1969, and that award for students was $960 a year. 43 years later, that amount has only grown to $1,473 a year, not even close to keep up with inflation. As this chart shows on my very left, the grant should be $5,900 if you were going to keep up with inflation. The differential, again, $5,900 for these students, but the reality is, because of budget cuts, it's $1,473. And again, when it was established 43 years ago in 1969, the award for these students was $969. Again, that is a paltry sum for these students. What results is that many students must work 1 or 2 jobs to help pay the bills. This delays graduation, impacts the students' ability to maximize their learning experience. This not only shortchanges the students, but it shortchanges the California taxpayers who are investing in their education. In addition to lengthening the time it takes for students to graduate, they take on additional debts and graduate as debtors rather than contributors to our economy. I propose to fix this situation with 2 measures that I have introduced today, which create the College Access Tax Credit Fund to support a substantial increase in the Cal Grant. California is a so-called donor state, only receiving around 70 cents for every dollar taxpayers send to Washington, D.C. It's time to leverage federal dollars to help offset skyrocketing college costs. In 2014, if we're successful in getting this measure passed, for every dollar that the fund receives, the individual taxpayer or the corporate donor would receive 60 cents back from the state, and the fund would receive 40 cents, which would earn interest. Now, this is 40 cents that otherwise we don't have on the table today. According to the IRS, the taxpayer would be able to take a donation deduction from their federal taxes. The taxpayer would get back on every dollar donated a total of 80 cents to more than 95 cents, depending on how they file at the federal level. The Franchise Tax Board predicts that the College Access Tax Credit Fund would be fully subscribed and net over $500 million in the first year alone. $500 million in the first year alone. And this would be at no cost to to the state of California. Today, we have individuals here who will be more than happy to answer questions if you have any. We have Debbie Cochran, Research Director for the Institute of College Access and Success. We also have Christine Suarez, President of the Association of Independent Colleges, California Colleges and Universities. Now, I'd like to introduce Diana Fuentes Michel, the Executive Director of the California Student Aid Commission, to help provide perspective on this much-needed legislation. Now, so everyone knows who Diana is. Diana is the woman who is part of that large California Student Aid Commission for the FAFSA when you guys apply. She's the woman who awards that grants, those monies. So what I want to do, obviously, with this legislation is provide her with more money. So with that, she in turn can provide each and every one of you with more money so you can pay for your books, so you can pay for your food, so you don't have to get more loans. So when you graduate eventually, you don't graduate with debt and have to go get a job that pays a lot of money because you're so focused and concerned about paying all that debt that's coming out of your pocket. With that, let's bring up Diana.
First, want to thank Senator de León for providing us this Valentine on Valentine's Day. Let's hear it for Senator de León. As a former Cal Grant B student, I can tell you that the students who receive the Cal Grant Award are students who come from hard-working families. Their average incomes this year were about $18,000. So we're talking about students who come from families who need assistance, not because they don't understand the value of higher education. They understand the value so much that they're determined to succeed in their objective of getting a higher education. Senator de León and I have both graduated with the support of the state of California in supporting our college ambitions and our dreams. And we are leaders in our community as a result of the fact that the state of California during the 1970s and the 1980s, as well as in this last generation, supported college access as a priority in this state. So the Student Aid Commission and the students and the nonprofit organizations that are here with you today are here to say that we need to continue that investment. We need to improve on that investment. We need to make sure that the students who are standing with us can successfully go through their education without being in debt, without not having to take such substantial debt that they won't be able to pursue their dreams. And also because, let's quite frankly understand that the cost of higher education has exceeded our ability to fund that without additional financial aid. So I want to again thank Senator de León for his leadership and to indicate to the students that we're going to do everything we can to ensure that their college dreams come true. Thank you.
Last, we're going to have one more individual who's going to speak, then we're going to open up to Q&A. We actually have a Cal Grant B College Access Award student here from Sacramento City College. She is a freshman. Let's bring up with us Zanikwa Relaford. Zanikwa. I hope I pronounced it.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, I didn't have my notes ready. So, my name is Anika Relaford. I'm a student at Sacramento City College. I'm also a Cal Grant B holder. As a Cal B grant holder, it's difficult to actually get the items I need for school, such as books that are over $150, supplies for my class that are usually over $20, eating food that costs $5 but comes out to $9.55, even the bus fare that costs $6 each time boarding. I'm only 19 years old. I live with my parents. When the money is all gone, I have to depend on my parents to pay for my school items. And with our economy being down, makes it even harder to get a job to pay for the items I need. As a student senator and as a student advocate at Sacramento City College, I went around to some students to see if they were on financial aid and what Cal Grant they received. Most said Cal B. Some just said, I'm supposed to get $5,500, but I only received $1,350. I asked, does it last? and they all said no. A lot of the Los Rios Community College students are living with parents or our parents, meaning they depend on their parents to help with their financial needs, or their parents who has to spend money for daycare, food, books for them and their child. As a Cal B grant holder, this will help a lot of other people all around California if this bill was to pass. Thank you and have a nice day.
Okay, we'll open up to any questions from the press, for anyone who has any questions on this measure, on the Cal Grant Access Award. From La Opinión newspaper. Of course. You know, let me explain, tax credits and the way they work. Tax credits, the objective of a tax credit is to incentivize a certain type of behavior, whether it's a jobs tax credit, whether it's a research and development credit, whether it's a heavy manufacturing tax credit, or R&D, research and development, for example. Oftentimes, we don't know, it's hard to measure and quantify the effectiveness of a tax credit. When a tax credit is approved and moves forward, it's drawn down from the general fund. In other words, it comes from the general fund. So general fund, there's less money when it's given out to a tax credit. What we're doing with this measure is we're doing it in reverse. What we're doing with this measure is we're incentivizing tax individual and corporate tax donors in the state of California to apply for this tax credit. They would give us $1, for example. We would return 60 cents. So the state stays with 40 cents that otherwise it doesn't have. We would use that 40 cents and we would give it to all these young men and women here and throughout the state of California who qualify under the Cal Grant B Access Award program. Now, the individual taxpayer, you would say, is out 40 cents. With a certain tax code that exists at the federal level, with the IRS memo from General Counsel, they will be able to deduct that percentage at the federal level. So there is no money from the state of California. And I think that for the electorate is looking for creativity, they're looking for innovation, they're looking for ways of how we can help these young men and women achieve their college dreams by thinking outside of the box. It's different. There's no question about it, because we could have moved forward a tax credit measure, but I don't know if it would have survived the legislative body, because every tax credit that's moved forward, like a Hollywood tax credit, draws down from the general fund. The vast majority of the electorate is not aware of that. So that's how it would function. According to the Franchise Tax Board, FTB, they believe that this program will be fully subscribed, upwards up to $560 million. That is the money that we would apply for all the young men and women who are here so they can access their college dreams.
What about any potential impact on the fiscal plan or any rewriting of the federal tax code? There would seem to be a lot of uncertainty around this and any
Well, on the fiscal cliff and sequestration issue right now in Washington, D.C., and I just got back a couple days ago from D.C., I don't think there would be a direct impact on this measure. Now, any modification of the tax code in the future at the federal level, that's another issue altogether. This is an obscure tax code that exists right now in the IRS regulations right now. If we we'll cross that bridge when we hit that juncture, if in fact we do hit that juncture. I know what the law is today at the federal level, and it's clear that an individual and corporate taxpayer in the state of California can draw down if in fact they choose to do so based on this memo that allows not just nonprofits, 501c3s, but a state government like California. So obviously the thesis behind the measure is setting up a program for these kids so we can make sure that we can get money to these kids, low-income kids, so they can pay for the books, they can pay for all the necessities. Taxpayers in the state of California don't pay one single penny out of their own pocket, and then we utilize the federal leveraging for the kids in California. Now, let me underscore something. This is really important because California is a donor state. For every dollar that we send to the federal government, we receive 78 cents back. So during the worst economic crisis in our history since the Great Depression, the last few years, where we've made draconian cuts, including to higher education, that it's impacted these kids, and those kids are in high school, that's impacted them. States like Alabama, states like Arizona, states like Louisiana and Georgia have received more than their dollar share contribution to the federal government. Therefore, California indirectly has been subsidizing other states throughout the country. I think it's time that we get our fair share back, and why not get this money back and give it to the kids who need it the most so they can achieve their college dreams. Thank you. They were applauding you, by the way. That's at NPR. Yeah.
Could this funding model be applied to other areas coming from the state government, other programs, and why? I guess two more questions. If it could, why this as opposed to any of the other uses in the general fund given?
Okay, good question. Number one, can it be applied to other uses? The answer is yes. It can be applied to other uses. If, in fact, someone else attempted to move forward legislation using the same methodology that I'm applying in my measure. So the answer is yes. Two, why specifically these young men and women? Like Diana, I was a Cal Grant B recipient myself, you know, being the youngest child of a single immigrant mother with a third grade education. We had no money to go to college. I was very lucky to have an opportunity to go on to higher education. Because of a Cal Grant B, that helped me tremendously. Given the fact that 43 years ago, when this program was established in 1969, the award was $969. You know, again, looking at the chart, when you adjust it for inflation, these kids should be receiving $5,500 and change, $5,500. The fact that they're only receiving $1,473, and you see the big, this is more than a gulf. This is it's almost like the Grand Canyon, you know, the gap between what they should be receiving adjusted for inflation and what they're actually receiving. Now, as FTB, you know, projects that it would be fully subscribed, we wouldn't be able to pay up to $5,000 because there's not enough money. But what we calculated is we have 177,000 students in California who are Cal Grant B recipients. We could roughly give them about $3,333 per individual total in the first year. So that's almost a little slightly double than the current rate that they're receiving right now. So, you know, these kids are our future innovators. They're our future lawyers, teachers, journalists, politicians, engineers, artists, teachers. You know, they're the future, and we have to invest. We've made so many draconian cuts right now. We have to make the certain investments if we're going to keep the economy, you know, strong in California or make it much stronger. Araceli. The question is, how will this help Latino students, given the fact that with the Cal Grant B, they've made the adjustments for a higher GPA, the access, the awards? You know, that's a very good question. And I would say that Latino students disproportionately are more impacted by the cuts at the higher education level. This is an issue that's separate from this measure that we'll be engaging with the governor. You know, obviously, I was not pleased or happy that the GPA was raised because that was a sort of a backdoor way of sort of kind of vetting out, you know, potential applicants to this program. So, you know, that's something that we have to visit, you know, in the legislature and engage with the governor. But I think that, you know, obviously those young men and women of a lower economic strata, parents who are struggling to make ends meet, obviously they will be the biggest beneficiaries of this program. Any other questions? Seeing none. To all the students here today in Sacramento, I want to wish you guys the very, very best today. I think there's a group of you that I'll be seeing later today. I'm very proud of each and every one of you that you've taken time. This is how we have to fight to get what we believe belongs to each and every one of us. It's part of the process, and I just want to thank you so much. You guys owe yourselves a big applause. So thank you very much.